I don't even know what to say about that. All right, yeah, I do know what to say about that. When I first started doing the conduit, I talked about some pretty, controversial topics. It's very critical of the Biden administration, and I was getting cut off of the internet. All kinds of crazy stuff was happening. If you go back and you look at uh some of my first podcasts, you'll actually see, I believe I actually put the recording on there where I call Comcast. I'm talking to the rep on the phone and she's telling me to record. So, I'm doing what she instructed me to do. But she's literally telling me that she believes that in her however many years she's worked at Comcast and she's worked there for a long time, she's never seen anything like that. And I had Comcast come out, change the fittings on the road. I had them come in, change everything inside because I was going to be, podcasting and I wanted everything to, be as good as possible. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. Now, when I started the podcast, I actually bought a brand new gaming PC. And I was still having these problems. Anytime that I was having these conversations, right? I'm using OBS. I'm using back then it was OBS and Zoom. I wasn't doing Restream, The conversations changed just because, I'm trying to find your way in the show and start interviewing people. It's a more lighthearted conversation. And so I got away from the more controversial topics or the more critical topics, right? As things progressed and the podcast grew, well, I ended up going to the dark side, which is another story about Tom. So now I've got what is this thing called? A MacBook, right? Got the latest and greatest. So how does my whole system go down mid-show? Now, keep in mind, I've done how many shows last week? 7, 8 shows, and I haven't had any problems. And now I'm having this conversation and everything, like my computer just totally just shut down. A Mac. Is it a coincidence? I mean, I'll let you determine that one, but doesn't seem like it. I'm just saying. Anyhow, if you're still with me or you watch it later, as I was saying before, this is the podcast below where you can see me going through the Freedom of Information Act, the evidence that the police department gave to me. And you'll hear me say on that podcast that I'm not saying that foul play happened, but he is not the first black man that is found hanging in a holding cell or in a jail cell over the last few years. And as the articles that I was showing before I was unceremoniously cut off of everything, he wasn't the only one. There were several. And not only is this happening to black men in police custody, but it's also happening outside across the nation. And every time they're really quick to rule it as a suicide. Now, for us, again, we don't commit suicide by hanging. That is not, uh, those numbers are tremendously low. As I said before, my brother had a lot going for him. He was making plans and had bail money, wouldn't have been an issue, right? Even if, if you know how the criminal justice system works, right? He would have uh, waived his right to a speedy trial. He would have secured actual counsel and not a public defender. And it would probably have been 2 years before that that case was resolved. So it's just, to me and to the folks that I talked to, and it was quite a few, it wasn't just one or two people, that my brother would not have committed suicide. But he has sued the police and won. He's fought against the cops and won. And as I said before, when Rodney King happened back in 91, and black people had been saying police brutality has been happening. They're killing us, they're beating us, they're raping us, they're doing all kinds of things, they're planting drugs, they're planting evidence on us. They're doing all these heinous things to us. No, no, no. No one will believe us. Rodney King happens, it's on videotape, and they still get acquitted, right? Well, we need to wait until all the facts come in. Wait a minute, you need to wait till all the facts come in. You got videotape, but you need to wait till all the facts come in. But you're so quick to rule that all these black men had just hung themselves and it was a suicide and it wasn't foul play. So we see the Eric Garners and all the others, and we get to George Floyd again on camera for all to see. And even then, kind of like the Bible, two people can read it and see two different things. But we have been saying this has been going on. This has been going on. And then did it slow down or did it stop after George Floyd? You figure the quote unquote few bad apples would fall back a little bit, let the dust settle a little bit. No, they amp it up. Shoot a guy in the back 7 times. I mean, push over a 70-something-year-old man, crack his head on the cement. So it's escalating. The gang members that are police in LA. I don't know if you've seen that article. I have to pull that up. I'll continue this train of this consciousness of thought, this theme, and I will show you some of that, some of those receipts. So quick to rule it as a suicide. Now, suicide is a tremendously real thing. It is a huge problem. If you need help, call 911. You can also call the crisis line to get help for yourself or someone. Maybe you know someone that's having some problems. you need to talk with someone to see what you can do to be of assistance, 888-910-0416. Or you can go to www.imhurting.org. Below in the link, you'll see the link to kitsapcounty.gov. So that's HTTPS, HTT. I don't have my glasses on. I'm sorry. Colon forward slash www. I do have my glasses on. I still can't see it. It's like I don't have my glasses on. Yeah, you got your glasses on. You're just blind. Let's try this again for those that are listening and not watching. HTTPS colon forward slash kitsapgov.com /HS /pages /suicide prevention website .aspx. And again, if you just Google go to Kitsap County government website, or just type in suicide prevention, suicide help, it'll come up. But again, you can go to imhurting.org or call 888-910-0416. 24-hour help to assist you. You are needed. Please don't make a permanent decision to a temporary situation. I know it's tremendously hard right now. The numbers of depression and suicide and domestic violence and loneliness, hopelessness, all these things have increased because of this pandemic. And there's already been so much loss, over 600,000 lives, businesses that have gone under, landlords that can't get their rent, tenants that can't pay their rent, that don't know what's going to happen. They're wondering, in 18 days, are they going to get evicted? And then what are they going to do? They just lost. If they were eligible for the $300 extra a week for unemployment, that's gone. Whatever you think about what side you're on, whether you think people did it to themselves or not, I don't think anyone wants people to commit suicide as the answer to the problem. You know, I realized, G2 has its mission, like many organizations, and we do what we do. McDonald's sells Big Macs and quarter pounders with cheese, and Burger King's sells Whoppers. Or G2 provides transportation and it provides food. And we do a few other things also. We can't do all things, and if we tried, we'd end up failing. So we've got to do the things that we can do. That said, we have found ourselves doing a lot more advocacy work as we are doing more uh, providing voice to those that don't have a voice, bringing light to situations that would otherwise stay in the dark. I'm sure many of you probably didn't know that black men were being found hung across the nation over the past, well, let's just say 3 years, past 3 years. Probably didn't know that was happening. In some of those instances, remember, you've got to hang yourself. You got to get up high enough that your feet don't touch the ground. In some of the situations where there wasn't any sign of um, like bruising from being tied up or something like that. How did the person get so high in the air? Please be careful. My system crashed, so I can't show you right now the other uh, information that I had set. Well, one was, let me see, I can missing, uh, missing black people. Is this the site? So I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they had mentioned how many uh, black people were coming up missing, and they were talking about organ harvesting, and it was pretty scary, right? I cannot remember the name of that website. Black. Let's see if this is it. All right, this is it. So let me pull this up for you. So I'm listening to, Phil Scott, the Diaspora channel. You've heard me talk about that one before. Really great channel. Definitely uh, would ask you to go over there and subscribe. Check out the stories there. Great news source for information. This is called Black and Missing. .com. This is the Black and Missing Foundation. Some things that I wanted to show you here is, you know, folks, you got to make sure that your kids are safe. But even beyond that, you need to make sure that, I know we're big and bad and we're macho and we don't need to, ain't no one gonna do nothing to us. But you can get God out here too. Tell people where you're at, man. If you can, stick together. Stick together when you can. But this here, blackandmissing.com, just has some, information here. Hashtag help us find us. The Rev asked me to post. I'm pretty sure y'all seen it in on Facebook about the gentleman who was young boy who's missing. So this isn't in California. This isn't Virginia. This is here. Missing person statistics in 2020. Thousands of people are reported missing every year in the US. And while not every case will get widespread media attention, the coverage of white minority victims is far from proportionate. Take a look at this infographic created by Black and Missing Foundation, detailing the disparity. So, the Black and Missing in America, look at the disparities in missing persons cases. The 2020 statistics for the United States, and here's the source here. So, this is where this came from, right? The NCIC missing persons and unidentified person statistics. and that was updated February 4th of this year. 543,018 people reported missing in 2020. 59% of them are white, including Hispanics. 37% were minority, and 3% were unknown. Nearly 40% of missing persons are persons of color, yet African Americans make up only 13% of the population, right? And so, again, when you're thinking about statistics and you hear arguments that are disingenuous, right? The white population is about 60% of the population, national population, 60% of that population is white. So, of course, if it's on par, you figure, there are more people, so their percentage should be higher, right? But it should be commiserate with their percentage of people in the country. So if we made it a nice, easy scale, right? If there were 10 full, the whole country was 10 people, and three of every 10 people is white, then if 3% or three went missing, then that would be on par, right? What they're saying is, well, black folks only make up 13%, but minorities, and in there, this 37, which I'm not clear on this here, what they're saying is, we're only 13%. Well, how is it that we're looking at 37% minority? Now, over here, this is on the left is white, including Hispanics. So they do need to disaggregate, you know, the Asian population or anyone else that might be counted in these numbers here. So I think they disaggregate it more down here, but it is something that I did notice. Thousands of people are reported missing every year in the US, and while not every case will get widespread media attention, the coverage of white and minority victims is far from proportionate. Why the disparity in media coverage? Runaways. A lot of minority children are initially classified as runaways. As a result, they do not receive the Amber Alert, which is true. I mean, I've got to say, I look at obviously you're going to see the Amber Alert because you don't have a choice, right? I honestly don't remember seeing a black child in an Amber Alert. Not to say that it hasn't happened, but yeah, no, I don't remember that. Criminals, missing minority adults are labeled and is associated with criminal involvement, gangs, and drugs, and desensitization. It is believed that missing minorities live in impoverished conditions, and crime is a regular part of their lives. Missing persons reported by gender. So again, you know that I'm an advocate for black males, and everything is looked under the vein as, it happens to women and only women, and the numbers to men are statistically insignificant. No. Missing persons 50-50. So when you talk about sex trafficking and missing persons, uh you're looking here at 50-50. But no one's looking for the men. We're just talking about the women. Boys are sexually assaulted. Boys are raped. Boys are molested. All the stuff the Catholic Church has gone through, right? But somehow this is a crime against women, not males. Breakdown based on and race under 18. Whites, including Hispanics, 57%. African Americans, 36%. Asian and Indian, 3%. So this is where I was saying it wasn't disaggregated. So they did do it. So they put for other, well, actually, no, they put it here. So 36, 57, 60, plus 36 plus 3. Okay, so that makes sense. All right. So that's how their breakdown is. There's still the 3% unknown, and they've taken some of that 3% out and they put it here. So African Americans are making up 36%, right? So what they're saying is black people are 13% of the population, but they come up missing almost 3 times as much. Total number of missing persons of color under the age of 18, 145,467. In 2020, 202,899 persons of color were reported missing. Of that group, 145,467 were under the age of 18. Yet, missing minority children are grossly underreported in the news. Yeah, like I said, I very rarely ever see it. What can we do to level the playing field? More diversity in the newsroom. According to the 2018 diversity survey conducted by the American Society of News, editors' newsrooms tend to be white and male. A diverse staff means that a wide range of stories can be told. So here, I actually disagree with this. So remember, we have Connie Thompson, Steve Poole. Um, who else do we have? Connie. What's the other one? Joyce Taylor. Right, we've got black newscasters here in Washington, but they still do the same stories as what the news the newsroom puts out there. So it doesn't matter the skin color of who's in there. It's what they decide to report on. Less is more, balance the scales and show less of one group and more of another. See the value in black and brown lives. This is an American issue that affects us all. Be vigilant. We all, uh, we all, law enforcement, the media, and our communities should be vigilant in finding our missing. Someone, a kid up at right across police precinct up there, just outside of Warren Avenue in Bremerton, almost got taken and put into a van. This was year before last. There are stories like this all the time. So you've got to be careful. Do you know the family of who you're allowing your kids to go and spend the night with? What are those? What are the parents' background? Who's living at the house? We have a sex offender living in the house. Is there drug and alcohol use? Is it visible to their kids? If your kids go and spend the night, are they going to see adults smoking weed and drinking alcohol? School age children, especially. Are they safe? I know a lot of times we might want to break, or kids really want to go. That's my best friend. Kill me if I don't get to go. But do you know where your kids are? Are they safe? Is there some crazy uncle or some crazy auntie? And a lot of times a female, right? Because what do we see in the news? We see a lot of stories of high school teachers, elementary school teachers, females having inappropriate relationships with minors, right? Are your kids safe at the house of their friends? Anyhow, like I said, check out the African Diaspora channel. That's how I ended up on this site in the first place. Was I was listening to an article. Uh, I was listening to an article, and in that article, it was um, talking about organ harvesting and how all these folks were coming up missing. They actually were going over the prices for the different organs, right? Uh, which was super shocking to me. Like, okay, so there's like a price list for these organs. Like, how do you find that out? You know what I mean? Be vigilant, folks. These are some dangerous times, and you are not safe. And running around here thinking that you are, that something can't happen to you. We're watching and hearing stories of things happening to folks in the most bizarre ways possible. In the most bizarre ways possible. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of your family. And I get it, man. We're grown. We feel like we don't need, we're good by ourselves. We can handle it. But they rarely do anything by themselves. They're not going to come at you one on one. They're going to come at you in a group. That's how it's going to come down. That's how it always goes down. Please take care of yourself. And it really is true, you know. I think it is appropriate for me to tell the story about my brother and me being out in the street in the middle of the night. No good can come of it. This is definitely the time to be diligent for sure. I'm looking to see. Oh, here's the article.
Black women, are you?
Let me go ahead and fast forward. I'm gonna play it a little fast. I'll just play a little bit of it. This is from Dr. Janelle Harrell Sims. And again, you know, fair use, fair use. I'm gonna play a little bit of this for you because it's that serious, right? And it goes along not only with the suicides and the death, but missing persons, sexual trafficking. All these things are all uh, really important for us to know.
Greetings, family. I'm Dr. Jamil Harrell Sims, and I'm a proud contributor to the African Diaspora News Network. Please make sure you click like, subscribe, and share, and click the bell so that you know when we are having another video. Today is going to be a quite sobering subject that needs to be discussed.
All right. Obviously, I can't play it that fast. So let me slow it down. Like I said, I consume a lot of information, so I need to watch it faster than normal.
Because I think it's time.
All right, bear with me there.
I want to talk about something that's going to be very, very unpleasant, but we need to talk about it.
All right, may not let me play this for you right now, unfortunately. What I will do then is I'll put the link in the description for you so that you have that URL. Uh, but I would say check this out.
I tried to do this on my own channel last year, and there was no interest because it's not something we want to discuss. I want to talk about organ trafficking. We have some attention being drawn to sex trafficking, trafficking of minors, children who are being sexually exploited. And I can tell you all about that because I'm a sex trafficking subject matter expert. And we hear about that. And there's so much more, and there's no way I can explain all of that to you in the short time that I have. But in the short time that I have, I do want to bring your attention to something else that we just don't seem to pay attention to, and that's organ trafficking. It can happen to any of us, but in particular, our men. While we're fighting and arguing about our men ain't this, our men ain't that, there is a very strong agenda to destroy them. You know, you have to worry about the white supremacists, the system, your own brother. You have to worry about, you know, the not being taken care of thoroughly, you know, in the healthcare facilities. There's so many different things that our brothers deal with It's hard. It's hard for them. I can only imagine. But while we're looking at young ladies, I just finished having a class and we kind of talked about that. And that's why I decided to do some commentary on this. Because people think when you say trafficking, they always say female, 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 female. Ladies, sisters, we are not the only ones going through stuff on the planet. We've made it so much about us that we are not paying attention to what's happening to our brothers. I want you to think Kendrick Johnson in Valdosta, Georgia, who was found rolled up in a gym mat. You know, he was murdered. Nobody slips into a gym mat, and they still are asking for answers. And to lay your child to rest and to have him exhumed so that you can get to the truth and find out his internal organs are missing, that is not something out of a horror movie. That is something that's really happening every day. Our brothers and sisters, and particularly our brothers, look, sisters, they can take your womb out. Wombs are expensive. People who have the money, who value life over their spirit, will pay whatever it costs to live because they think that the only thing that matters is this life. Now, I'm not, don't get it twisted. I want to live too. We all want to live forever, but that's not the Most High's plan. So I want to give you a little information about organ trafficking. This is going to sound really depressing, but I need to give you this information. Do you know that a liver is worth $557,000? Kidneys are worth $262,000. A heart is $1 million. Small intestine is worth $2,519, and a gallbladder is worth about $1,300. Skin is $10 per square inch, and melanin is about $395 to $450 per gram. It's worth more than gold. Melanin, something that we possess, something that no other group on the planet possesses like we do. And I'm talking to the diaspora here. East Indians have a lot of melanin, but there's more of us than there are of them. And I'm not just talking about, highly melanated people in the United States. I'm talking about worldwide. And there, I have seen a documentary about organ trafficking in my studies in India, where people are selling their body parts. You know, you have 2 kidneys, you sell a kidney because you're poor, you're living in poverty. And one, you want to help someone else. 2, you need the money. So in India, these things are occurring, and this is true. But in the United States, we have an option that if something were to happen to us, we can decide on our driver's license to be a donor. Well, there's some really funky things going on because there are brothers that are missing, and there have been a couple of cases, one in particular in California, I believe up in the Victorville area. And this gentleman was an Atlanta native. He was a model, and they found him with his organs missing. It's very important that, although we're grown and we feel like we don't need to answer to anyone or tell anyone where we're going, we are in some very.
So I'm gonna stop it there. I put the link in the chat for you. Um, like I said, there's a lot going on right now in our country, and we need to be careful. 2 years yesterday, my brother is no longer with us, and it's just not clear as to why when he had so much going for himself. And it's so easy to make the assertion, oh, well, he didn't want it, so, he decided to kill himself. People that are close to him don't believe that. And again, for those of us that know how the judicial system works, we know that it takes time, right? He would have gotten bail. Um, it would have probably been a couple years before he would have had to do any time if he was convicted. He had so many plans with so many people, and it didn't meet any of the signs, any of the typical warning signs that are present when someone is contemplating suicide and planning it. As I said when I was sharing about my brother, he's extremely intelligent. He was a planner and a thinker. And so I wouldn't call him someone who just made like just snap judgments and decisions. Okay, yep, that's it. Done. And folks have conversations like I'm not going back in. They're gonna have to kill me. For those of us that have friends and family that have been incarcerated, especially for long periods of time and multiple times or both, you know how they talk, right? And you know what's wolf tickets and what's real. Like, yeah, no, they're not going back. It ain't going down like that. They mean what they say. He doesn't, he never spoke that way. And he had a lot of things going for him. A lot of opportunities going. So I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. But when you're isolated and you're alone like that, you're in a holding cell, it's late, you're with the police. Here, this was early in the morning too. This was like I can't remember the time on the report, but this was like lunchtime, late morning or something like that. But the point is it's just not worth it. You know what I mean? And if you have kids, your kids need you. They need you to be the best version of you that you can be for them. They need you to put them in the best possible situation that they may not find themselves in crisis. Now, you can't guarantee it, but you can sure do quite a bit to bring the percentages down. This was my brother. So, for your nephews, your sons, your brothers, your fathers, what are we willing to do to give them? Like I said, he was strong. And you can see how small I was back in the day. What sacrifices are you willing to make sure that it minimizes the chance that your loved ones end up in this situation. However, it played out. He's not here. And it wasn't a major offense that he was arrested for. So it wasn't like he was looking at, 5, 10, 15 years. If you have any information that you think might be helpful for me, any resources that I might be able to turn to try to get answers, please reach out. I definitely would appreciate it. Again, if you or someone you know is experiencing profound sadness, depression, suicidal ideas, please reach out for help. 888-910-0416 or go to www.imhurting.org. You might be thinking, I do know someone, but I don't know what to say, and I don't want to make the situation worse. Give them a call because they can help you with the best way to navigate. You don't have to feel like, all right, I'm just going to say something and I'm going to make it worse. There's actually some philosophy behind that, but I won't get into that now. Call the number if you or someone else needs some help. And if you're that person that knows someone, give a call because it'll help give you the words to give to them. It was an hour in a holding cell. There was no opportunity for me to give him any words, if that's how it played out. It was that fast. All right. Thank you for joining me today. And going down memory lane with my brother. I know I'm not from New Orleans. It's kind of weird and strange and cool at the same time where they kind of celebrate, a person that's passed. Other times people are like really sad and they get torn up when that time of year comes around. This year was really hard for my dad, and they're really close together. I guess sort of. But I was thinking like, how am I gonna honor my brother this year? I take some ashes down to the water. Well, but I got COVID and I'm crazy sick, so stay away from people who want to be hacking on folks in public. So sharing some good stories. I thought that was the way to go. So thank you for joining me. We've got a bunch of shows coming up this week. I mean, a bunch. We've got I think we have more than 20 people coming on this week. So as a follow-up now to the post 9/11 and emergency preparedness, folks have committed to coming back, right? We're building that relationship. So I will be building the shows this evening. I know we have a show tomorrow. I know we have a show. I think we have maybe 2 shows Wednesday. Yeah, this is getting pretty big. So a lot going on. I have some returning folks. So again, get involved because that's the only way that you're going to be able to see, make, and cement the change that you want. Ask questions, make comments, share your experience. We need to hear from you. You got to find a way to grow as community. But until next time, I'm Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit. Thank you for joining me today.